When I was a kid, and when you were a kid, I bet you hated work. I hated work. I hated homework. I hated school. I hated piano practice. I skipped all of it. Anything I could skip, I skipped so that I could go work on my little inventions in my room, so that I could go catch frogs, build bow and arrows, fish, and play with my friends. That's all I wanted to do. Life was leisure when I was a kid. Kids know what leisure is, my friends. So if you're struggling with what leisure is, go look at kids, right? But as I got older, I stopped valuing leisure as a goal, and leisure started to feel like a reward for the important things. You know, it's really sad for me. Like, I tried to play a video game or watch a TV show the other day, and I literally couldn't do it. I couldn't get into it because it felt like this was unproductive, and I'm trying to erase this mentality. Fucking all the personal development videos are like, stop playing video games and just start grinding. I can't do it anymore because I actually think video games might be important for the world we live in. So for all the ambitious men out there, if you're like me, if you're striving for greatness, if you want to actualize your potential, you're going to get to this point where everything important has to be productive, and then life gets a little bit more gray. You get a little bit more mature and wary of the world. And it got really bad for me. It got to this point where I was backcountry skiing this winter. I'm in the mountains hiking, with my dad. And I was listening to a lecture about ancient Greece and ancient Rome to generate ideas for my next video scripts. And I caught myself like, what the fuck are you doing, bro? You just worked for the last 4 days, like really hard. Now you're out here trying to generate ideas for the next video instead of immersing yourself into this physical, spiritual experience with someone you love immensely. Like So I took out my lecture and I got deeper into the hike. And when you hike for 2 hours in the wilderness, right, in the backcountry, something magical happens. You tap into the deeper part of your mind, the right hemisphere of your brain. And it just reminded me that life is a lot more irrational and a lot more magical than we give it credit for. And I had a great, experience with my dad, great spiritual experience. And I often do when I'm hiking. And whenever I get up to that peak of that mountain, I'm sitting there and I haven't thought about work for hours, and I'm in my body and I'm in my deep mind, and I feel connected to my heart and my spirit. Like I wake up, something wakes up inside of me, and I'm like, this is all I've ever wanted. This is the state. This is what I would call the state of self. And when you're in the state of self, this is where the great ideas strike like lightning bolts from Zeus. This is where all great art and invention really comes from. It wasn't Nikola Tesla over his little whiteboard writing for hours that invented, AC power. It was probably him taking a walk and throwing an apple, and then the apple hit him in the head and fucking AC power is invented, or the laws of motion, or Isaac Newton has this great idea. Like, guys, genius comes from leisure. It comes from the state of self. And there are activities like climbing mountains, hiking, backcountry skiing, walks, reading, and great conversations that I would define as aristocratic in their leisure. If we look at aristocrats of the past, they loved doing these activities. Add hunting onto that as well, because these fuel that state of self. So for me, like, I love my work, I love what I do, but also because I'm an entrepreneur and because I create content like this, my work infiltrates all of my life, and it led me to a really tough spot where I was prioritizing my work over the physical, spiritual, and leisurely experiences of life, because the only thing that was important is watching fucking numbers go up and having good ideas. And that mindset right there, it's thoroughly bourgeoisie. It's merchant class. It's merchant caste. And I'm unlearning it because it drains my life force and it kills noble instincts. My friends, the greatest artists, the greatest geniuses, like Hunter S. Stevenson, look at someone like Charles Bukowski, look at someone like Costin Olamaru. Some of these guys, they literally just drink and laugh and fucking fight and like live these like very riotous lives. And then on scratch pieces of paper, they write down genius lines, one line that encapsulates more wisdom and power and spirit and soul than the entire books of the cramped scientific fucking academic author writing in his office, right? And it's like really profound ideas. They come from the noble instinct. They come from a place of vitality. So we need to change our aim if we actually want to be successful. And more than just creating great works of art or genius, As I said, I think we need to change our aim to frictionless success, to the real image of aristocratic power. So where are you aiming, right? Where are you aiming in your life, and how are you going to get there? This is one thing I learned really deeply being in Mexico with someone from the Men's Academy. He has a very different way of approaching life, much more leisure, much more yin. And I was sitting there feeling stressed and overworked, and he asked me some great questions. Like, what would it be like if it was easy? How could you make this 10 times easier, 10x the results? And most importantly, how could you have fun doing it? He sort of asked me these really good questions one night, when we're having a great conversation. And it really changed my perspective on so much. And this kind of goes into the story you're telling yourself, is there is an easier way that leads to exponentially more results if you can take a step back, take a deep breath, and see where your heart leads. What is fun? What is natural? What is an easier way to get to the same place you are going?